If you're a federal employee or military service member, your TSP might be your most powerful wealth-building tool, and yet most people barely scratch the surface of what it can do for them. I've seen people undercontribute, misallocate funds, ignore Roth TSP, and lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in retirement savings. Whether you're brand new to federal service or you've been in for 20 plus years, this is the ultimate TSP deep dive that will show you exactly how to choose between Roth and traditional TSP, build the right fund allocation for your FIRE goals, avoid expensive mistakes, maximize your match, and even access your money before 59 and a half. If you're serious about retiring early, building wealth, or just understanding what's really going on inside your retirement account, then grab a notebook because this video is going to walk you through everything. And hey, if this is your kind of content, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tap the bell. I drop federal finance and FIRE videos every single week, and I promise you'll walk away smarter every time. Alright, let's start with the basics, because even if you've been contributing to your TSP for years, you might not fully understand how powerful it actually is. The Thrift Savings Plan, or TSP, is the federal government's version of a 401k. It's available to civilian federal employees and members of the uniformed services. At first glance, it seems pretty simple. You put money in, it grows over time, and you use it in retirement. But under the hood, it's one of the best retirement tools in the country, especially if you know how to use it right. Here's why. Ultra low fees. We're talking about expense ratios around 0.06%, which is lower than almost any private 401k. That means more of your money stays invested and growing. Automatic payroll deductions. The contributions come out before you even see your paycheck, so it's a set-it-and-forget-it wealth builder. Government match. The government gives you a 1% automatic contribution plus up to 4% in matching if you contribute at least 5%. That's free money, like a guaranteed 100% return on your first few percent. Tax flexibility. You can choose between traditional, pre-tax, and Roth, after-tax contributions, which gives you more control over your retirement tax strategy. And if you're planning to retire early, like I am, mastering how the TSP works isn't optional. It's essential. Whether your goal is age 60 retirement, FIRE at 45, or just making sure your future is secure, the TSP gives you the foundation to build that life, but only if you know how to use it. Now let's talk about one of the most misunderstood parts of the TSP, traditional versus Roth contributions. This decision alone could impact how much you get to keep in retirement by tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So here's how it works. Traditional TSP, you contribute pre-tax money. That means your taxable income goes down today. But when you retire and start withdrawing, those distributions will be taxed as ordinary income. Traditional TSP is great if you're in a high tax bracket now and expect to be in a lower one in retirement. You want the tax deduction today to free up cash flow. You're close to retirement and trying to reduce your current tax burden. Roth TSP, you contribute after-tax dollars. You pay taxes now, but all of your qualified withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. Roth TSP is powerful if you expect your income or tax rates to be higher in the future. You're younger and want decades of tax-free growth. You plan to retire early and want flexibility accessing funds. Let's run a quick example. Imagine you contribute $500 a month to your TSP for 30 years. With average 7% growth, you'll end up with around $588,000. If it's traditional TSP and your retirement tax rate is 22%, you'll lose about $129,000 to taxes. If it's Roth TSP, that entire $588,000 is yours, tax-free. That's why I personally lean heavily toward Roth TSP, especially since I'm aiming for early retirement. I'd rather lock in today's tax rate and keep everything later. But here's the good news. You don't have to pick just one. You can split your contributions between Roth and traditional to give yourself options in retirement. Strategy tip. If you're early in your career, Roth is usually the better bet. If you're later in your career or temporarily in a higher tax bracket, you might tilt more traditional. And remember, regardless of which one you choose, your employer match always goes into the traditional side. That's just how the TSP system works. Alright, now that you know how the TSP works and how to choose between traditional and Roth, it's time to tackle what trips up the most people. Which funds should you actually invest in? The TSP offers 6 main investment options: G, F, C, S, I, and L funds. Each one serves a specific purpose, and the key is learning how to combine them based on your goals. Let's break them down. G Fund, Government Securities Investment Fund, invested in short-term U.S. Treasury securities, guaranteed not to lose money, super low risk, and super low return. It's basically the cash equivalent of the TSP. Use this fund when you want stability, but not for growth. Not ideal for long-term investors chasing FireFed Fund. Fixed Income Index Investment Fund tracks the Bloomberg U.S. Aggregate Bond Index, invested in high-quality bonds. Slightly more risk and reward than G Fund adds, balanced to a stock-heavy portfolio, can lose value in rising interest rate environments. C Fund, Common Stock Index Investment Fund, mirrors the S&P 500. Large cap US stocks like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, strong long-term growth but comes with volatility. This is the workhorse fund for long-term growth. If you're young or chasing fire, C fund should probably be a major part of your mix. S fund, small cap stock index investment fund, tracks US. Companies not in the S&P 500, more volatile than C fund but often higher returns, great for aggressive growth. Just be ready for some roller coaster years. I fund International Stock Index Investment Fund, tracks international stocks from developed countries, adds global diversification, historically underperforms C and S funds but can shine in certain market cycles. Include this if you want a truly diversified global portfolio. Be cautious. Currency fluctuations and political instability abroad can affect returns. L funds, life cycle funds, pre-mixed portfolios based on your expected retirement date, L2035, L2045, etc. Automatically rebalances over time to become more conservative as you approach retirement. Great if you want a hands-off, all-in-one fund. Not ideal if you want full control over your allocation or if you're aiming for early retirement, because L funds might get too conservative too early. So how should you choose? If you're new or hands-off, start with an L fund that matches your timeline. If you want control and growth, build your own allocation using C, S, and I funds, and keep GF for balance. Pro fire tip. I personally overweight C and S funds for aggressive growth while I'm younger, and I add more stability later. Alright, now that you understand all the TSP funds, let's get real. People always ask me, what's your TSP allocation? So in this section, I'm going to break down exactly how I personally invest my TSP money, and more importantly, why I chose this approach. But keep in mind, this isn't financial advice. It's just what works for me based on my goals, my timeline, and my tolerance for risk. My fire-focused TSP allocation I'm building toward early retirement, not just traditional retirement at 60 plus. So for me, growth comes first, and I'm okay with riding out market ups and downs. Here's how I've structured my TSP. 50% C fund, S&P 500, large cap US stocks. 30% S fund, small and mid cap US stocks. 15% I fund, international exposure. 5% G fund, just enough to stabilize extreme volatility. I intentionally leave out the F fund right now because I'm not super focused on bonds, at least not while I'm still aggressively building wealth. I'll revisit that as I get closer to my target retirement date. Why this mix works for me. I want exposure to US market growth. That's why C and S funds make up 80% of my portfolio. I include the I fund for global diversification, but not too heavily since its returns can lag. I keep a little G fund as my psychological safety net. It smooths out the ride just a bit. How often I reassess, I check in on this allocation about once per year, usually in December. That's when I rebalance, adjust percentages, and reflect on whether my strategy still fits my life and risk tolerance. Pro tip. If you're closer to retirement or just naturally more risk-averse, you might increase G and F fund exposure. But if you're under 40 and pursuing FIRE, you likely need that aggressive equity tilt to reach your number. Now let's talk contributions, because if you don't know the limits, you could be leaving serious retirement money on the table. These numbers change year to year, but for 2025, here's what you need to know. Standard contribution limit. You can contribute up to $23,000 to your TSP if you're under age 50. That's just under $1,917 a month. So if you want to max out, divide $23,000 by the number of pay periods in your year and automate those deductions. Catch-up contributions, age 50 plus. If you're 50 or older, you get an additional $7,500 in catch-up contributions. That brings your total limit to $3,500. Honestly, that's a huge opportunity to catch up if you started saving late or just want to supercharge your final working years. Pro tip, spread contributions. Evenly. Here's a mistake I made early on. I contributed aggressively in the first half of the year. Sounds good, right? Except I hit the max too early and missed out on my agency's match for the rest of the year, because matching only happens with each paycheck. Solution, set your contributions to spread evenly across the whole year so you maximize both your limit and your match. Strategy note, you don't have to max out your TSP every year, especially if you're paying down debt or building a side hustle. But if you're in the fire zone, pushing to hit that cap, even if it takes a stretch, is one of the best wealth moves you can make. Now let's break down one of the best features of the TSP, and one that too many people don't fully understand, the employer match. If you're under FERS, the federal government gives you free money toward your retirement every single pay period, as long as you're contributing. Here's exactly how the match works. TSP matching breakdown. 1% automatic contribution. You get this even if you contribute nothing. 100% match on the first 3%, you contribute 50% match on the next 2%. That means if you contribute 5% of your salary, you're getting the maximum 5% match. So total, you're stacking 10% of your salary into retirement just for showing up and contributing consistently. Let's look at an example. Let's say your salary is $80,000. If you contribute 5%, that's $4,000 a year. The government adds another $4,000. That's $8,000 a year going into your TSP, and that's before any market growth compound that over 20 or 30 years, and that match alone could be worth six figures. Mistake to avoid. If you're contributing less than 5%, you're literally leaving free money on the table. Even if you can't max out your full $23,000 contribution yet, make sure you hit at least 5%. That's the floor. Don't go below it. Fire tip: if you're working a side hustle or building outside income, let your federal jobs match fund your future while you invest your extra earnings elsewhere. Let's talk about the mistakes. The things I see federal employees do with their TSP that can seriously slow down or even derail their retirement goals. Whether you're just starting out or 15 years in, these are easy to fall into. But once you know what to look for, they're easy to fix. Mistake number 1, relying too heavily on the G fund. The G fund is safe, but too safe. It barely outpaces inflation and offers very limited growth, especially over the long term. I've seen folks keep 100% of their TSP in the G fund for 20 years, and they're shocked when their balance is half what it could have been. Use the G fund strategically, maybe 5 to 10% to smooth volatility, not as your main engine for growth. Mistake number 2, not choosing funds, default allocation. If you never selected your own funds when you started, your contributions might be sitting in an L fund or even worse, just in the G fund by default. Take ownership. Even if you're hands-off, choose a lifecycle fund that matches your retirement timeline, or better, build a mix yourself. Mistake number 3, not rebalancing your allocations will shift over time. One fund grows faster, another lags. You drift off your original strategy. If you never rebalance, you might end up with more risk or less growth than you intended. Rebalancing just once or twice a year can keep your plan on track. Mistake number 4, ignoring Roth TSP. Too many people go all in on traditional just because it lowers taxes now. But for FIRE, Roth TSP is a secret weapon. It gives you tax-free income in retirement when every dollar counts. You don't have to choose one or the other. Split your contributions and give your future self options. Mistake number 5, under-contributing. The bare minimum gets you the match, but it doesn't get you to FIRE. Many folks contribute 5% and think they're set, but if you're aiming for early retirement, you've got to push for 15-20% plus if you can. Bottom line, these are simple fixes that can literally add hundreds of thousands of dollars to your retirement balance, and they all start with paying attention. Let's talk about rebalancing, a step that most people either forget about or think doesn't really matter, but it absolutely does. Think of rebalancing like tuning up your car. Your portfolio needs periodic adjustments to keep running efficiently. Over time, some funds will grow faster than others. That's great, but it also means your mix shifts, maybe way off from what you intended. Here's what that looks like. Let's say you started with 50% C fund, 30% S fund, 20% I fund. After a great year for small caps, the S fund might balloon to 40% of your portfolio. Suddenly you're overweight in small caps and taking on more risk than you planned. Or maybe the market crashes and now your C fund shrinks way down, underweighting your growth engine. That's why you rebalance. How to rebalance in TSP? You can rebalance in 2 places. Interfund transfer, IFT. This moves the money that's already in your account between funds. Contribution allocation. This controls how your new contributions are distributed going forward. Ideally, you check both once or twice per year. I personally do this in December, so I start the new year with a clean slate. Quick tip: if you're using an L fund, rebalancing is automatic. But if you're building your own portfolio like I do, you've got to do this manually. And no, you don't have to be perfect. Even just rebalancing once a year helps you lock in gains, control risk, and stick to your plan. Now this one's huge, especially for my FIRE folks. How do you access your TSP before age 59-1-2 without getting slammed with penalties? Normally, early withdrawals from a traditional TSP come with a 10% penalty and taxes on top of that, but there are several legal workarounds that most federal employees don't know about. Strategy 1, the rule of 55. If you separate from federal service in the year you turn 55 or later, or 50 if you're in certain law enforcement roles, you can withdraw from your traditional TSP penalty-free. Key detail: you must separate in that exact year. It can't be before 55, and this doesn't apply if you roll your funds to an IRA. Strategy 2, Roth contributions access. With a Roth TSP, you can always withdraw your contributions, not earnings, tax, and penalty-free, because you already paid taxes on them. This makes Roth an incredibly flexible tool for early retirees. Example: if you contributed $60,000 over several years and it grew to $90,000, you can take out that original $60K without penalty, even if you're under 59 and a half. Strategy 3, roll to IRA plus use Rule 72T. You can roll your TSP into a traditional IRA and take substantially equal periodic payments, or SEPP, under IRS Rule 72T. This allows you to take a set annual withdrawal without penalty, but the rules are strict. You must take the same amount each year. You must continue for at least 5 years or until you're 59 and a half, whichever is longer, important. Once you start, you can't stop or adjust the amount, or the IRS hits you with back penalties. Why this matters for FIRE: if you're aiming to retire in your 40s or early 50s, your TSP might be off limits for a while unless you've planned ahead. That's why having a mix of TSP for later retirement, Roth contributions for flexible access, taxable brokerage accounts or real estate for early years gives you the flexibility and tax efficiency to retire early without triggering penalties or unnecessary taxes. So now you know how to access your TSP early without penalties, but here's the bigger question: what's the smartest way to withdraw from all your accounts in early retirement? This is where people either save big on taxes or make mistakes that cost them thousands. You need a layered withdrawal strategy, especially if you're retiring before 59 and a half. The layered FIRE withdrawal game plan. Think of your assets in layers, each one designed for a different phase of early retirement. Layer 1, taxable brokerage accounts. Use these first. No age limits, no penalties, and with good planning, very little capital gains tax. These accounts give you maximum flexibility in your 40s and 50s. Layer 2, Roth contributions. Tap your Roth TSP or Roth IRA contributions next. Remember, you can withdraw the money you put in anytime, tax and penalty free. Layer 3, SEP or Rule of 55 if eligible. If you left federal service at age 55 plus, you can take penalty-free withdrawals from TSP. If not, and you need to tap your traditional TSP or IRA, use Rule 72T to access that money without penalty. Layer 4, full access at 59 and a half plus. Once you hit 59 and a half, the gates open. You can access TSP, IRAs, and most retirement accounts without penalty. Bonus tip: do Roth conversions in low-income years. During the early years of retirement, especially before taking Social Security or pension, you might be in a very low tax bracket. That's the perfect time to convert some traditional TSP to Roth, paying a small amount in taxes now to avoid bigger bills later. This strategy can save you 5 figures or more over your retirement life. Bottom line, don't wing this. Build your withdrawal strategy as carefully as your savings plan. Sequence matters, taxes matter, and flexibility is everything. We've covered a lot in this TSP deep dive because, let's be honest, the Thrift savings plan is one of the most underrated, misunderstood tools in the entire FIRE journey. Whether you're just starting out in your federal career, halfway through your service, or thinking about early retirement, your TSP can absolutely be the cornerstone of your financial freedom. Here's a quick recap of what we covered. TSP fundamentals recap. The difference between traditional and Roth TSP and why tax strategy matters, what the G, F, C, S, I, and L funds actually do, and how to mix them for growth, how I personally allocate my own TSP for early retirement, the contribution limits and why spreading them across the year matters, how to maximize your employer match, common mistakes to avoid, like going all in on the G fund, why rebalancing matters more than you think, and how to access your TSP before 5912 without getting hit with penalties. But more than anything, I hope you walk away with this. Your TSP isn't just a retirement account, it's a tool to buy back your time. And if you use it wisely, layering in smart allocation, aggressive savings, and a flexible withdrawal plan, you can retire earlier, retire stronger, and have options most people never even imagine. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop a comment below and let me know. Are you using Roth or traditional? What's your current fund allocation? And what's one change you're going to make after watching this video? Don't miss what's next. If you got value from this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell. I drop new videos every week on federal retirement, FIRE strategies, TSP, and how to use your government job to build real freedom. Thanks so much for watching. Take action, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next one.